but the White Wolf has rested long enough.
Is Falcon and the Winter Soldier teasing Bucky's return to a life of villainy? Well, probably not exactly. The second episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier gave us a tease of Bucky's healing time in Wakanda, where he became known as the White Wolf.
Little time in Wakanda and you come out White Panther.
It's actually White Wolf.
Interestingly enough, the White Wolf character in the comics is one of Black Panther's biggest villains. So why would the MCU choose to give Bucky that name? Today's video is breaking down everything we know about White Wolf from the comics and how the MCU can adapt that with Bucky's current character arc. Let's get started right now.
Where's the fight?
Poor Bucky. The first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier really reaffirmed how hard Bucky's life has been so far. As he puts it, he's been in a non-stop fight for over 80 years, and that sort of thing can weigh on a person. There's still so much about his Winter Soldier past that we don't know, but we have the basic gist. He was put on ice and just unfrozen whenever there was someone to fight or kill, and then he was put back in the freezer next to the month-old fudgesicles, waiting for his next chance to thaw out and go to work. It took an immense struggle from Steve for Bucky to begin to snap out of it. Of course, Steve wasn't the only factor. Steve's inspirational with his "I'm with you till the end of the line" speeches, but sometimes you just need cold, hard science to break brainwashing. And no offense to Steve, but he's not exactly a scientist. Plus, he needed a place where Bucky could be safe. Because he was the world's biggest assassin for like 80 years, there weren't a lot of places that would be willing to take Bucky in to help him. And that's what led Bucky to Wakanda, where their advanced technological marvels and minds were the best chance to break the immense control Bucky was under, as well as having a leader that understood that Bucky needed help rather than to be punished. Because Bucky knows he needs to change. He even volunteers to be frozen again until Wakanda can figure out a solution. So let's be real here. How long do you think it took Shuri to find an answer? 1, maybe 2 days? Alright, fine. Maybe it was harder than that, so I'll say 3 days tops.
I'm sure you did your best.
I do wish we could have seen a bit more of that process though. As it unfolds in the films, we first see Bucky being taken to Wakanda. Then the next time we see Bucky, he's mostly better. I want an in-between clip that shows Shuri trying out a bunch of new techniques on Bucky's brain. Is that too much to ask for? But as we know, Shuri was able to help Bucky. In the post-credit scene for Black Panther, we see Bucky recuperating in a Wakandan hut. Shuri calls him Sergeant Barnes, but he insists to call him Bucky, which is a way to show that he's mostly back to his old self. He's even dressed in solid red and blue, which is a subtle tease to his taking over the Captain America mantle in the comics. But then there's a bit of a swerve. In Infinity War, Thanos is coming, knocking on Earth's door, looking for a fight, and they need Bucky. T'Challa says that Bucky may be tired of war, but he's rested long enough. They give him an awesome new vibranium arm that's probably decked out with some cool special features like a snack department and the ability to turn into a Swiss Army knife.
Okay, how much for the arm?
Not for sale.
Fine, I'm speculating, but Shuri likes to have fun, so you know that arm has upgrades. It's important in this scene to notice the color on Bucky. His former red and blue robe is now faded, but now there's a white element to his clothing that completely shines. This probably has something to do with his name. Black Panther calls him the White Wolf. Fans who know White Wolf's comic origins probably got excited about this, and the fact that in the second Falcon and Winter Soldier, they bring up the White Wolf moniker again could mean a lot of fascinating things for Bucky's future in the MCU. So was Bucky ever the White Wolf in the comics? No, he wasn't. Which makes the MCU giving Bucky the moniker all the more interesting, especially since White Wolf is a villain in the comics. But I think it will all make sense once you hear White Wolf's comic story and why it matters for Bucky. In the comics, long ago there was a plane crash near the Wakandan border where the only survivor was a Caucasian child. Wakanda's whole thing for a while was all about isolation and secrecy. I mean, if you had all that technology, would you want to share it with the world? No. People are greedy. We saw how fast the new gaming consoles sold out, so people would lose their minds if they knew how advanced Wakanda was. The lines for tourism would be crazy. Anyways, even though they liked their privacy, King T'Chaka, T'Challa's father, took pity on the orphan child and took him in. His name was Hunter, and T'Chaka raised him as a son for a bit. Everything was going great until T'Challa was born. This caused immediate jealousy from Hunter since it meant he was no longer in line for the throne. This had an interesting effect on Hunter. Although he was furious, he decided to train his body and mind in order to prove he could be the perfect Wakandan citizen, eventually becoming a fierce warrior and the head of Wakanda's secret police force, adapting the name White Wolf. But when T'Challa became king, the animosity only continued to grow when Black Panther disbanded the secret police for being too violent, which led to Hunter and his group to be exiled from Wakanda, where they would become mercenaries for hire. Over the years, the two sorta brothers would cross paths and fight. It was very much a Thor/Loki situation when you think about it. Yes, that's right, we could have had a Thor-Loki 2.0 in the MCU. Yes, Hunter's methods were extreme, and he disagreed with T'Challa's way of ruling things. But Hunter was always loyal to Wakanda and would protect it against outside threats when the situation called for it. But it definitely looks like now we won't be getting Hunter or the OG White Wolf in the MCU. A lot of his backstory has so much in common with Killmonger that they couldn't reintroduce the character without it feeling like a copycat. And now the White Wolf moniker has been given to Bucky. But you have to ask yourself, why did they do this? There has to be a reason, right? It's not like they were going to turn Bucky into a villain again, that would just be cruel. So why slap him with the White Wolf name? Well, it does make you think what the MCU's original plan for Bucky was going to be. Remember, Sebastian Stan signed that standard 9-picture contract, so he still has a lot of movies left as Bucky Barnes.
Pal, your buddy, your Bucky. What did you say?
And before the MCU was truly focusing on streaming shows, I think they had something else in mind for Bucky. It seems like they were setting up a solid supporting role in Black Panther 2. Think about it, as I mentioned, White Wolf heads his own secret police while remaining super loyal to Wakanda but tends to be too violent. It's easy to see how they could easily translate that to Bucky. Imagine a subplot in Black Panther 2 where Bucky is struggling with his brainwashing and violent impulses, but being fiercely loyal to Wakanda for saving his life and trying to help him. Him and T'Challa wouldn't necessarily have to have an antagonistic relationship, but rather they'd have a complicated one because of Bucky's issues, and that would have tested what type of king T'Challa was. I'm sticking to the idea that that was the original plan before things changed. Maybe the MCU realized a Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show would be better for the character overall and they shifted gears. Of course, with the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman and the statement that they are not recasting T'Challa for the sequel, does open up some exciting possibilities where we could still see Bucky as White Wolf. Right now, Bucky is looking for a life. He's trying to make amends for his past decisions and escape the Winter Soldier shadow. Since he's not becoming Captain America, the door is open for him to take on a new mantle, and that's where White Wolf can come in. Maybe after the events of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, not only will Sam upgrade to Captain America, but Bucky will realize that he wants to help Wakanda rather than the United States, and build a new identity for himself there. That means that he could still show up in Black Panther 2 and be a vital role in keeping the peace after T'Challa's death. Bucky is quickly becoming one of the most complex characters thanks to Falcon and Winter Soldier. So the MCU shouldn't be done with his story after the show is over. That's why we need the White Wolf. Man, they keep changing Bucky's name around in the MCU. Here's hoping we'll follow some of his time as the Man on the Wall alias, because that's just fun to say, isn't it? Look out, here comes the Man on the Wall. Man, comics can be strange.